It's Friday. You know what that means. Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestling with Awareness with your host right here, Vikram Prashar. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned after all the craziness that's been happening. For those of you who don't know, this was formerly known as the Dropkick Podcast, which me and my former co-host Daniel Ali would host. We decided to part ways, and with the utmost respect, because we're still good friends, we decided to make a business decision to part ways and host our own podcasts. So that's what you are here to see right now. I have some awesome interviews coming up for you guys. I have some great mental health episodes that I'm proud to bring to you guys. And I have some new wrestling content that I'm going to bring to you guys here on the Wrestling with Awareness podcast. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Wishing a very happy new year and a very good 2021 to all of you guys. I know that 2020 was a very difficult year, but I think 2021 will be the year where everything gets better because it really can't get worse. Also, of course, rest in peace, Brody Lee. Such a shocking loss. That loss really got to me, and it really opened my eyes and made me understand how precious life is and how we really have to learn to live in the moment and cherish the ones that we love. So rest in peace, Brody Lee. So yeah, if you're tuning in, though you read the title correctly, this is a 2020 awards show, so I'm going to be awarding my Wrestler of the Year, Match of the Year, and things like that. So that's basically what this episode is going to be today. So thank you all for tuning in, and I have a lot of awards to give out here. I've got Breakout Star of the Year, Faction of the Year, Pay-Per-View of the Year, Feud of the Year, Promo of the Year, Moment of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Weekly Show of the Year, Women's Wrestler of the Year, Match of the Year, and Wrestler of the Year, Male Wrestler of the Year. So, yeah, I'm really excited to present these awards, and I have done awards previously on my YouTube channel, but this is the first time I'm doing it in podcast format, so I'm excited to bring this to you guys here. My hair looks odd. I'm growing it out. Anyways, let's start out with Breakout Star of the Year. You know, there's so many people who could have received this award. There's Dominic Mysterio, who impressed me. Orange Cassidy really impressed me this year. Pat McAfee opened a lot of people's eyes and probably made a lot of people understand that just because somebody's a celebrity crossover athlete doesn't mean they're going to be a shitty wrestler, because he had a very good match with Adam Cole. But I'm awarding the Breakout Star of the Year to Jey Uso, a tag team specialist who decided to move into the singles division and had two amazing world championship matches, well, universal championship matches, against his cousin, his own blood, Roman Reigns. I thought this was absolutely incredible. He really stood out. And while there's a lot of other draws on SmackDown, like Roman Reigns, like Daniel Bryan, like Seth Rollins, every time Jey Uso main events, if you go and look, Main Event Jay is pulling in a lot of ratings. So Jey Uso is doing a great job. He's caught one of the best promos of the year too, which is could win promo of the year. I'm not going to give it away yet. But Breakout Star of the Year is Jey Uso. I've been really impressed by what he's been doing. And honestly, I kind of want him to win the Royal Rumble match. As crazy as it sounds, I really want Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble match. I want him to be the one to beat Roman Reigns for the title. After everything that we've seen, I really want that to happen. So, yeah, Jey Uso is going to be awarded with Breakout Star of the Year here on Wrestling with Awareness for 2020. Faction of the Year. Last year in 2019 on my YouTube channel, I awarded it to the Undisputed Era, but actually this year they are not going to receive it. They had a pretty good year, but I don't think they were Faction of the Year. Some other factions that may come to mind that you think could be worthy of it, it could be Eddie Kingston's faction, you know, it could be the Inner Circle, it could be a lot of factions, but this year, Faction of the Year for me goes to the Hurt Business. So the Hurt Business wins Wrestling with Awareness as Faction of the Year for 2020. They formed this year MVP Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander. They finished the year pretty much dripped in gold. 3 title belts around their waists, the tag team championships and the United States championships. They've been one of, if not the most entertaining part of Raw for the majority of 2020, and I honestly cannot wait to see what they have in store for 2021. So the Hurt Business is receiving Faction of the Year for 2020 by Wrestling with Awareness here tonight. Next up, we have Pay-Per-View of the Year. Last year on my YouTube channel, I gave it to AEW's Double or Nothing. This year, we've had a lot of great pay-per-views. We've had like AEW's Full Gear. We've had WWE's SummerSlam. We've had WWE Hell in a Cell, WWE Backlash. If you notice, I'm saying AEW and WWE a lot because of the pandemic. Those were really the only two relevant mainstream wrestling promotions. We've had some others that stayed open, but majority shut down. So a lot of these awards are going to WWE and AEW this year. But yeah, so WWE and AEW, even Impact Wrestling presented Slammiversary this year, which is also a very good pay-per-view. But this year, pay-per-view of the year is going to All Elite Wrestling's Revolution back in February 2020. Very good pay-per-view. We saw Jon Moxley defeat Chris Jericho to win the AEW World Championship. We saw probably the best tag team match of the whole year in Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus the Young Bucks. And we saw a lot of cool other stuff like Pac versus Orange Cassidy. And not to mention, I believe it was the final pay-per-view of the year in front of a crowd. So that pay-per-view is definitely going to take the cake for pay-per-view of the year for 2020. Next up is Feud of the Year. This one was tough to pick because we had so many good feuds. Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. We had Edge and Randy Orton. We had The Undertaker and AJ Styles. Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. A lot of good feuds. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Cody Rhodes and MJF. Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin. The Young Bucks and FTR. But this year, Feud of the Year for me, I gotta give it to Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. That feud, even though it wasn't as long as some of the others, went 2 pay-per-views long, 2 great matches, and it just captivated me. It was something that I really wanted to tune in to see. Roman Reigns, in my opinion, as a heel, is doing the best work of his entire career. He's a natural-born heel. Even his promos. For the longest time, I couldn't stand his babyface promos, but his heel promos are immaculate. And I know that mid-teenage 15, 16-year-old Vikram would want to slap myself in the face for praising Roman Reigns, but I gotta give it to him. If he was around for the whole year, he may have been Wrestler of the Year for me. But due to him coming back towards the end, I did give it to somebody else. But Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Feud of the Year, hands down, here at Wrestling with Awareness. Next up is Promo of the Year. In 2019, last year on my channel, I gave it to Cody Rhodes on the Go Home Show to Full Gear 2019, his undesirable to undeniable promo. Now, this year we've seen a lot of great promos as well. We've seen Edge's return promo about grit. We've seen Cody Rhodes cut a great promo on Darby Allin. We've seen Jake the Snake Roberts cut a really good promo on Cody Rhodes. We've seen a lot of great promos. Roman Reigns cutting a fantastic promo on Drew McIntyre. But all in all, I really had to edge it down to one, which was very tough because we saw a lot of great promo work this year, especially since we didn't have many shows with the crowd. So I feel like a lot of wrestlers relied on their promos. Promo of the Year goes to Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston on the AEW Dynamite Full Gear Go Home Show this year. So it's crazy. Last year, the Full Gear Go Home Show had Promo of the Year, and this year had Promo of the Year. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston's promo was just immaculate. Speaking about Eddie Kingston's mother, you could really feel the emotion coming through both men's voices when they were speaking to one another. Eddie Kingston telling Jon Moxley, this is real. And for a second, that promo made me think the beef between the two was real. And that is what professional wrestling is supposed to be. And that is why Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston are receiving the Promo of the Year in 2020 for Wrestling with Awareness's awards. Such a great promo. Now we move on to moment of the year. We've seen a lot of great moments this year. We've seen Sting return, debut for All Elite Wrestling. We saw the whole Kenny Omega Impact Wrestling thing when he defeated Jon Moxley for the title and went over to Impact Wrestling. We saw Tetsuya Naito win the two titles, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship. We've seen a lot of great moments this year. Jon Moxley winning the World Championship, Drew McIntyre winning the World Championship. But all in all, moment of the year has to go to Edge returning at the Royal Rumble match 2020. Edge is one of my favorites of all time. It's between him and John Cena to be my number one favorite of all time. I cannot pick between the two. And this is just a really, really great moment for me. But I'm putting all bias aside. I truly believe that Edge deserves this moment. Whether you predicted it or not, no matter how many rumors there were, I didn't believe it, and he actually returned. And, it made a lot of fans tear up. A beautiful moment. Drew McIntyre winning was amazing, but all in all, that night, I think Edge returning truly made that night special and truly made it a night to remember. So Edge returning at the Royal Rumble match in WWE this year, that receives Moment of the Year here at Wrestling with Awareness for 2020. Next up, I'm going to be rewarding the weekly show of the year, and that is going to be going to AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite. And no, if you guys are watching the Facecam version of this, not the audio format, I'm wearing a WWE hoodie. I am not playing favorites here. I just legitimately believe that AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite has been the most enjoyable wrestling show weekly for the most part of 2020. I believe they adapted to the pandemic really well with wrestling without an audience. I believe Jon Moxley's title reign was very entertaining. And not to say that any other shows weren't good. Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor. Props to you guys for holding shows during a pandemic. I enjoyed you guys as well, but this year AEW Dynamite just really caught my attention for the most part. So here at Wrestling with Awareness, 2020's weekly show of the year goes to AEW Dynamite. Alright, now here we go. Tag Team of the Year. Last year, I awarded this award to the Lucha Bros on my YouTube channel. Now, there's been so many tag teams, so many, who have had a good year this year. The Street Profits, FTR, the Motor City Machine Guns, the North. But overall, I had to give Tag Team of the Year to the Young Bucks. It was really down to between the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega for me. But all in all, I ended up going with the Young Bucks because I believe, they had that great match with Omega and Page at AEW Revolution. They're part of Double or Nothing Stadium Stampede match. But not only that, I just believe that on overall Dynamite episodes, I've been entertained by Young Bucks matches a lot this year. Whether it was the rematch with Private Party, whether it was the Gauntlet match, whether it was a match with Jurassic Express, whether it was giving the new tag team Top Flight a shot, or the new tag team The Acclaimed a shot. And that amazing dream match with FTR that we saw at AEW Full Gear. I have to give it to the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are Tag Team of the Year for 2020 here on Wrestling with Awareness. Next up is Match of the Year. Last year, oh my god, how I have changed. Because I honestly don't agree with what I picked last year. Last year I did pick AEW Full Gear, Jon Moxley, and Kenny Omega. The non-sanctioned hardcore match, which was a good match. But all in all, especially after training to become a pro wrestler, which I am currently doing, I've gained such an appreciation for just regular matches. And if I'm here to be honest, I would change my 2019 match of the year to Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes at AEW Double or Nothing 2019. But that's besides the case. We're talking about 2020, not 2019. In 2020, we've seen amazing matches. We've seen Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series. We've seen Jey Uso and Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions. We've seen Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, which I believe was a very underrated match and not talked about enough. You know, we saw Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank. A lot of very good, high-caliber matches this year that we have seen. The Young Bucks versus FTR. The Young Bucks versus Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. You know, so many amazing matches. Tetsuya Naito versus Kazuchika Okada. You know, Kota Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. Will Ospreay versus Hiromu Takahashi. So many great matches in 2020. But all in all, match of the year for me definitely had to go to Edge versus Randy Orton at WWE Backlash 2020. Do I believe it was the greatest wrestling match ever, as they call it? No, but I do think it was the greatest wrestling match of 2020. Such a great match. You know, both wrestlers looked great. Both superstars came out looking amazing. And once again, much like how I spoke about promo of the year, at some points in the match, I felt like I was watching a real fight. And that is what professional wrestling is supposed to be. So I'm awarding Edge versus Randy Orton at WWE Backlash Wrestling with Awareness's Match of the Year for 2020. Now, Women's Wrestler of the Year. Last year I gave it to Becky Lynch on my YouTube channel. This year, it was really tough. It was between two women's wrestlers, but all in all, I decided that Sasha Banks would be awarded with Wrestling with Awareness's Women's Wrestler of the Year for 2019. So congratulations, Sasha Banks. You are Wrestling with Awareness's Women's Wrestler of the Year for 2019. It was between her and Bayley, and at the end, I really had to just decide when they were together as a tag team, and they were both champions. Was I more entertained by what Bayley's matches were or Sasha Banks' matches were? And at the end of the day, it was Sasha Banks' matches. That is why she is being awarded with Women's Wrestler of the Year for 2020 here by Wrestling with Awareness. And now finally, Male Wrestler of the Year. Last year on my YouTube channel, this was awarded to Jon Moxley. And many people believe that Jon Moxley should win this again this year. And while I do think he's a valid option, I do think there were other valid options as well. I think Randy Orton was a valid option. You know, I think if Roman Reigns was here for longer, he would be a valid option. You know, there's a lot of valid picks this year for Wrestler of the Year. Adam Cole even. But all in all, I had to come down to a conclusion. And Male Wrestler of the Year here at Wrestling with Awareness for 2020 is Drew McIntyre. The man kicked off the year winning the Royal Rumble. He defeated Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He held that title all the way to October. And he lost it to Randy Orton, who became a 14-time world champion, only to regain the championship weeks later, winning 2 WWE World Heavyweight Championships in the span of 1 year against 2 former multi-time world champions, 2 WrestleMania main eventers, and 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Drew McIntyre has really stepped up his game. In my opinion, he's even showing some face of the company quality in his work. Obviously, to be face of the company, it really takes a few years for us to understand if you have what it takes. But this year, he's really opened my eyes, and I wouldn't put it past him. So keep your eyes on Drew McIntyre in the future, as he is Male Wrestler of the Year for 2020 here at Wrestling with Awareness. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast, whether you watched on YouTube or you listened to it on Spotify or other platforms. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me throughout this crazy time. Make sure you support me. Make sure you support Pro Wrestling Streams, who is our official graphic designer here at Wrestling with Awareness. So make sure you guys check him out on Instagram. And yeah, just thank you guys so much. This really means the world to me to be here presenting you guys with awards, and it really means the world to me that a lot of you guys have stuck with me throughout this crazy time and this crazy process of me and Daniel deciding to part ways and host our own shows. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to keep wrestling the mind, and make sure you guys stay tuned to more episodes of Wrestling with Awareness. I've got some big stuff coming. Make sure to like, comment, and click that subscribe button, and stay tuned. Peace out. Have a good day.